Hallo miteinander, I'm Geshady6 and this is the Let's Play Bingo. We are playing my favorite mission of Mass Effect 2. Yes, nothing retro or niche for me this time. We have a fairly modern, mainstream game at our hands. I do play these occasionally, you might not have known. And with occasionally, I mean 144 hours in this case. For the few who don't know, Mass Effect is a trilogy of games developed by BioWare. It has a very rich story arc, and explaining it would take far too much time off this video. So, we're just going to concentrate on what is happening in this mission. We are Space Ace Commander Gesh Shepard, and we are part of a joint operation by Space Station Omega's three most dominant crime syndicates. The goal of said operation is to kill a vigilante called Archangel. The catch is, this is a fluke from our side. We actually want to recruit this Archangel for our purposes, which is why we have just betrayed and killed all of these dudes. Speaking of Archangel, here he is. Now this is a very powerful and cool scene. I'll let it speak for itself, for the most part. There's a few things you need to know. Archangel's identity is a mystery. This guy surely will never find out, but we will shortly. See, Gesh Shepard and him, they know each other very well. There was once a time where they went through thick and thin together.
Shepard.
Oh yes, it's him.
I thought you were dead.
Garrus, what are you doing here?
Just keeping my skills sharp. A little target practice.
You okay?
Been better, but it sure is good to see a friendly face. Killing mercs is hard work, especially on my own.
Well, we got here, but I don't think getting out will be as easy.
No, it won't. That bridge has saved my life, funneling all those witless idiots into scope. But it works both ways. They'll slaughter us if we try to get out that way.
So we just sit here and wait for them to take us out?
It's not all that bad. This place has held them off so far. And with three of you, I suggest we hold this location, wait for a crack in their defenses, take our chances. It's not a perfect plan, but it's a plan.
If we fight as a team, we'll hold them off.
You're right. Their numbers won't help them in here anyway. Let's see what they're up to.
Gotta love Brandon Keener's raspy voice. He sounds like that in all his roles.
Looks like they know their infiltration team failed. Take a look. Scouts. Eclipse, I think.
You can pass a QuickTime event here for some renegade points. We won't because we're goody two-shoes.
Looks like a lot more than scouts.
Indeed. We better get ready. I'll stay up here. I can do a lot of damage from this vantage point. You can do what you do best. Just like old times, Shepard.
If you take Dirty Harry and the Punisher, mix them in a blender, maybe squirt in a little bit of Batman, feed the result to a mutated cockroach before launching it into space, you get Garrus Vakarian. He is a badass who was already a party member in Mass Effect 1 and became a fan favorite. Those fans, of course, include me. I don't think that was too hard to guess. Now about Mass Effect 2 as a game. If you ask 3 different people about what genre it belongs to, you'll likely get 3 different answers. To me, it is a third-person cover shooter focused on squad mechanics with smart but unintrusive RPG elements. If you have played Mass Effect 1 and thought the constant configuring and micromanagement was a little bit annoying, Mass Effect 2 is going to be more up your alley. I also think that it does a better job at keeping the action fluid, and it generally seems to be a lot more secure in what it wants to be. And that is more a shooter than an RPG in my opinion. Picking up on that part about micromanagement, most of the stuff you find in this game is equipped outside of missions. Except for new weapons like that assault rifle. You can immediately use that. Well, we can't, because we belong to the Infiltrator class. During character creation, you choose one of 6 classes in this game. Now, infiltrators are an interesting bunch. They are somewhat defensive sneaks, whose specialty is the use of their cloaking device. They also excel at popping heads with their sniper rifle. Cowardly? Yes. Effective? Super yes. I said there were squad mechanics, so let's go over our companions. We have 2 of them right now, that is the maximum you can have. And Garrus, he doesn't count yet. He's still regarded as somewhat of an NPC right now. On the very bottom of the screen you can see their tiny disembodied heads. On the right we have Miranda Lawson. She is a very balanced character who is able to do, well, that blue thing you've just seen there. Because she is a biotic. What's a biotic? To simplify it for the sake of time, someone with a genetic disposition to use psychic powers. Those manifest themselves, for example, in the form of telekinesis and gravity singularities. Apart from that, Miranda can also use overload to damage shields and synthetic enemies. If you need someone versatile, she really is the perfect choice. Figures, perfection is what they bred her for. Next up, the alien on the left is the scientist Solarian Dr. Morden Solus. He's got PhDs in many things, including medicine, genetic engineering, and ass-kicking. If you don't think you can get a doctorate in that last one, you do not know Morden Solus. He's all about blasting your enemies with ice and fire missiles, and generally excels against organic and armored foes. What does armored mean in that case? Well, we'll go over that later. Right now, we need to pick up some ammunition. Though it's not really ammunition as we know it. Firearms in the Mass Effect universe always forge their own bullets. You just need thermal clips to redirect the heat. So, what does this mean in terms of gameplay? Absolutely nothing out of the ordinary, honestly. Really, it's simply the lore of the game.
Want something done properly. Alright, let's see how you handle this, Archangel.
Now this part is really interesting. I've got to warn you about an upcoming jump cut. One that will send us back in time about 10 minutes before gameplay of this video started. A time when the crime syndicates thought we were their friends.
That problem should take care of itself.
Now what did Shepard mean by that? Well, when we were in Eclipse's mech storage, we did this little hacking minigame here. It might look really weird to you now, but it's very simple. You just need to reveal each node and match the ones that are the same. Once that's done, you have done a little bit of sabotage. I think Miranda can explain it best.
Slow him down.
Perfect. It'll be hostile if they activate it.
Exactly. By deploying this heavy Emir mech, Eclipse has really shot themselves in their own foot. It is very powerful, pretty much as strong as a boss, and will mow down their mooks with ease. Despite it being such a great help, you will see me attacking it occasionally. I think it has to be destroyed in order for you to advance. And I also believe it will head for you if everything else is dead. So far though, it's doing our work. Know that tampering with the mech is completely optional. You can see it as a reward for taking your time and looking around. It's really cool and one of the reasons why this is my favorite mission in the game. But not the most important one. Nah, I think what really makes this so thrilling for me is the situation as a whole. You've got to think about it. We're on the defending side of a siege. In reality, that is the worst thing. Really, the party that besieges always makes sure that the odds are for them. Overwhelmingly so, usually. Otherwise, they would choose to not even fight. That has to be on like page 2 of Sun Tzu's Art of War, really. Before we arrived, those gangsters had Garrus trapped like a rat. Now that we are here, it's still only 4 against a well-prepared army. And I really love that. Well, our mech just went to robot heaven. Now enemies will actually start targeting us again. Don't worry too much though, we're already very close to the end of this wave. You can tell because stronger enemies start appearing. These ones have additional protection on them and will not even die to a successful headshot of our sniper rifle. That's something. We're using the hardest hitting one in the game too, the Mantis. We've got a mini-boss inbound. This lone survivor here is Jareth, the local leader of the Eclipse. I should call him a mini-boss. This guy is really not much to talk about. But he does have 2 additional health bars, titled Shields and Armor. Depending on what type of health bar you're attacking, certain techniques and weapons will be more effective. It makes a huge difference, so always pay mind to that. Generally, submachine guns, shotguns and assault rifles will work well against shields and biotic barriers, whereas sniper rifles and heavy pistols will tear through armor. There are individual exceptions.
You're kicking ass, Shepard. They barely touched me. And we got Jareth in the process. I've been hunting that little bastard for months.
We're going to skip over most of this cutscene for the sake of time. To summarize it for you, the Blood Pack has found a back door into our bunker. To keep them out, we need to leave Garrus here and close the emergency shutters, but we're handing him Miranda for safety. Parting with someone here is completely optional and makes things much harder for us. But we get Paragon points in return because we're such a swell guy. Paragon and Renegade points are the game's karma system. They will help you pass speech checks. Listen up for the best advice I will give you all video. Always work consistently in one of those directions. Either be the greasiest Boy Scout or the most rotten anti-hero. Yeah, oh by the way, you can't ever be truly chaotic evil, it really wouldn't make sense in a plot-wise standpoint. I once built up a somewhat neutralish, unpredictable character. It really didn't work. I would fail a lot of speech checks. So don't do what I did. As I said, stay consistent. Anyway, the main idea of these shutters is that you need to press a switch and then prevent any of the Blood Pack to pass through where the gate closes for 10 seconds. If they do, the sequence aborts because of goddamn safety regulations. Does this look like we're safe to you? 10 seconds might not sound like a long time to you. Believe me, in this case, it can feel like an eternity. Since there's so many of them around right now, let's talk about the Blood Pack. There's 3 types of species with unit variation. What just got spilled there was a Vorcha. Coming around this corner to meet with our fist is a Varren, a Krogan doggy if you want. Finally, we have Krogans themselves. We should see one very soon. Starting with the Vorcha, they are weak. Weaker than the soldiers we've been fighting before. But they regenerate health lightning fast. Never try to gradually wear them down. It's a waste of your time. Always hit them hard till they're finished. Now here's finally a Krogan. You could say they're the Klingons of the Mass Effect universe, a savage warrior culture that lives and dies for glory. Krogans are durable and will regenerate just like Vorcha. Now Mordin does something here that you should always avoid, letting a Krogan come close. Really, if their heavy shotguns don't blast you to bits, their melee attacks will finish you. Whenever you spot a Krogan, you want to get rid of them as soon as possible. Preferably from a distance, cause you know, their own guns are usually shotguns, and those suck on distance. While we're already talking about enemy weaknesses, both Krogans and Vorcha share one. They are very susceptible to fire, which is why I brought Mordin on this mission, and in particular this encounter. His Incinerate ability can be a real lifesaver. So can his Cryoblast, as we demonstrate right here. Do know for that one that it doesn't work on armored enemies, unfortunately. We as the Infiltrator class also have the Incinerate ability. It's on the very top right of our command bar. The command bar is what always pops in when we pause the game. The Incinerate ability is probably the one that you'll see me use most in this video. It's just so good. And oh my, we have a slither of health left. 1 foot in the grave. Yeah, if enemies flank around your cover, that can happen. Luckily, Mordin had another Cryoblast at the ready to save our life. That Varren almost had our face for dinner. The number one cause of death in Mass Effect 2 has to be getting flanked while you and your squad's abilities are all on their cooldown timers. In its default settings, companions will use their offensive abilities whenever they feel like it. That can be a mistake. When you're moving on to a higher difficulty level, we are on Veteran right now, the 3rd of 5, you might want to switch that option to fully manual use. If you get into an emergency then and don't have anyone's abilities ready, Well, you've only got yourself to blame. Better than dying to bad luck. Okay, on to the next shutter. The one before was pretty rough, this one just as much, if not even more. One thing about this section in general, you are timed. On the lower right you have a bar called Garrus Vital Signs. It will decrease in intervals. If it ever reaches 0, it's game over for you. Why is that, I wonder? Does the rift in awesomeness on Garrus's death implode the whole galaxy? Nah, that wouldn't make sense. In the game's final mission, every companion can suffer permadeath. And the mission still goes on. I guess it would just come off as really stupid if you went on this mission and brought nothing home with you. Oh, now this part is really notorious to me. You have to send a squad mate ahead for you. Otherwise you will be toast, literally. And I have no idea why I jumped out of cover there. The thing is, just around this corner is a Vorcha with a flamethrower. He will roast you if you have no one there to distract him. It is the worst beginner's trap, and I still sometimes die to it. Fortunately, one incinerate will explode his gasoline tank, one-shotting him. An overload works for the same purpose too. I don't have a clue how this guy was able to shoot us over cover from there, but it doesn't matter. He is now dead like many of his alien brethren. Come to think of it, if it wasn't for the aliens and mechs, you might not have recognized Mass Effect 2's setting as futuristic just from this video. It certainly is. The game's set in 2185, which makes it work for one of my bingo spots, games that take place in the future. Faster than light travel has been discovered in the Mass Effect universe, but it might seem so strange to you that pew-pew lasers and beams are very rarely used among infantry here. Unlike Star Wars or Star Trek, which are so influential. There is a very good reason for this. These weapons also rely on the Mass Effect technology used in space travel. That makes their bullets much faster and more powerful than those of the ballistic weapons we have in our present time. Phew, we just barely got away from that pyro back then. Smarter than running away like a scaredy cat would have been the use of my cloaking device. But my instincts got the better of me and I panicked. Not very professional, I know, but at the end of the day, all that matters is that we're still standing. And we certainly are. This is the last entrance we can lock down. Afterwards, it'll start a cutscene and teleport us to where we need to be. I said it was the last one we can close.
Get back here, Shepard. They're coming in through the doors.
Not the last one we would have liked to close.
Rip them to shreds! Watch my back. I'll deal with Archangel.
The horseless cavalry has arrived. We are now again united with Miranda. That's good, we're going to need her. The loudmouth we have just met is Garm, commander of the Blood Pack. He's a Krogan with biotic powers. Yes, that can mix. I think his defeat would be a nice milestone to wrap up the video on. Wouldn't you agree? The mission itself is unfortunately only 2/3 over. They're quite long in this game, but we needn't overdo it now. I might record the rest of it on my own, outside of the competition, for the sake of completion, when I get around to it. We will see. About Garm, he may be quite a beast, but he made a critical mistake. With his friends, he would be very troublesome. Too bad for him, he threw them all away as fodder, and now he's really just a slightly stronger Krogan. He does have 2 additional protective layers though. A biotic barrier and armor. Morden's Incinerate doesn't work against barriers, but Miranda's Warp absolutely does. We have all the means to flatten this guy. Be warned that if you waste too much time downstairs, he will kill Garrus much quicker than the shutter sequence would. I think we can just about wrap it up here. Before I go, I want to say something to the old schoolers, players of classic games. I am one as well. Mass Effect 2 might seem like something that's too cinematic for you and not that kind of Nintendo hard. Let me tell you, it is extremely gripping and very clever. I hope that got evident from the video. Okay, that's it. I'm Gash86, and this was our trip to the future for week 4 of the Let's Play Bingo. Bis bald!